Welcome back to the eNETEmployer how-to video series. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about adding employees to our eNETEmployer payroll. There are two methods you can use. The first method is to add an employee manually by entering all of their data one screen at a time. The second method is much easier and involves using an employee template that will fill in entire sections of data automatically. We'll talk about both methods in today's lesson. And during the process, we'll also touch on eNETEmployer's unique customized views feature. Let's begin by logging into the program and choosing the payroll service. When the program loads, make sure you're on the payroll tab and then choose the employee menu. This menu provides options for working with employee-specific tasks, such as entering their work hours, defining their individual earnings, deductions and accumulators, and much more. You will likely visit each of these screens at least once over the course of a typical payroll while you are adding an employee. The first option in the menu is entitled Set Up Employee. Let's choose that option to begin. The Set Up Employee screen is the starting point for each employee's detailed payroll information. The options shown here include the employee's surname and given name, birth date, preferred language, and a number of other basic settings. If you look at the table, you will notice that we already have 5 sample employees entered, employees number 1 through 5. Each of their individual birth date settings are shown, along with their gender, dependent settings, and so on. Take notice also of the final column entitled Template. The employees you see here were added to the payroll using either an hourly or a salary template. Employee templates are useful in simplifying the setup process for the new employees, since you can define the details needed for one type of staff member and then apply those same settings to many new staff members that share similar employment characteristics. In our example, Gregory House was set up using an hourly employee template. This means that many hourly-based pay settings were applied to him automatically because we set him up using that particular template. In a similar manner, our second employee, Peter, had the salary template applied to him when he was added to the payroll. The template for salary-based employees will have different types of earnings included than those of hourly workers. So let's use the template feature to add our next employee to the payroll. To accomplish this, we will move to the top left of the screen and click on the drop-down list that appears just to the right of the New button. The list displays 2 employee templates that we set up earlier. For more details on creating an employee template to include in this list, please visit our YouTube channel and view our how-to video entitled Working with Employee Templates. So let's select the hourly option and then choose the New button. This action inserts a new employee row into the table and its cells are ready for editing. Let's assign some sample values for our lesson, beginning with the employee's name. For the purposes of our demo, we will put in a test social insurance number. And then we will replace the program's suggested employee number with something with a few less characters, 006. We will then assign a birth date of April 1st, 1990. Looking over to the right, we see a few more options. The employee's preferred language for use in this payroll. In our case, we'll choose the default option, and that will apply the English language. And since this employee has no dependents, this completes the data entry for this initial screen. Notice that the final column is set to hourly. That's the template option we chose earlier. Scrolling back to the left, we now select the Save icon, and that records the changes and officially applies each of the template settings to our new employee, Bill Testman. Now, in order to better understand the employee template settings that were just applied, let's review the templates that were used when we added Bill Testman to the payroll. To do this, we will move to the menu bar and choose the Current Payroll Templates command. This opens the template screen where we can view the original templates that we referred to earlier in the Setup Employee screen. In this case, two templates exist: hourly and salary. In our example, the hourly template automatically assigns the following settings to any employee who has it applied to them: a full rate business account, a factory distribution, a tax province of Manitoba and a Manitoba WCB rate, and a stat code of hourly. If we look to the right of the row, we can view the earnings that will be assigned to the hourly based employees. These will be vacation, double time, overtime, statutory pay, and of course, the regular earning type. For the deductions and benefits, the template will apply both RRSP and group insurance. Our second employee template is entitled Salary. It has some of the same settings like the hourly template, but there are a number of differences based on the pay type. For example, these employees will use the head office distribution along with the salary statistic code. We can see the different earning types for salary employees: bonus, salary, and commission. The vacation pay earning will also be included. This earning is shared with both hourly and salary employees. Now let's review some of the details for the new employee so that we can see the template settings in action. Let's choose the Employee Earning Items menu command. This screen allows you to review, assign, or edit each individual employee's earning records. Earning records are used to control the wages or salary that is paid to each employee. The table displays the earnings for our 6 employees, including the new person, Bill Testman. If we click on the expand icon that appears at the left side of the row, we reveal a series of sub-rows that contain each of the earnings that have been applied to Bill Testman automatically based on the hourly template that we used when we added him to the payroll. Continuing on, we will choose the Employee Deductions and Benefits menu command. When the screen appears, we will again expand the sub-rows for Bill and see that the RSP and group insurance deductions have been automatically assigned. As you can see, the employee templates are an excellent way to have many default settings applied to new employees in an automated manner based on their work type. Once you've used the template to apply your common set of employee options, the next step is to move logically through the other employee menu options. This is necessary so that you can complete the other details that can't be set up in an employee template. Let's review that process now. Let's choose the Employee Address command. This screen is used to define the address-related settings for each employee in the payroll. We can see that there are still a number of settings that we need to define for Bill Testman. Similarly, if we go back to the Employee menu and choose the Status Parameters command, we can still see that there are a number of status-related settings that need to be assigned to Bill. For example, his payroll start date needs to be entered. Let's assign April 1st of the year 2016, for example. And then we can scroll over and set his position to assembly. And we'll save the row. Continuing on through the Employee menu, we come to the Pay Parameters option. This screen is used to define the settings that relate to how employee payments are allocated within the payroll and any bank accounts that the employee will use for EFT purposes. Again, the template has applied a number of settings for Bill automatically. However, if we plan to pay him via EFT, we will still need to set his primary bank account information. In this case, we would set the Enable cell to Yes and assign his bank a name and the actual account related information. Continuing on, we go back to the Employee menu and choose the Tax Parameters command. This screen is used to define the detailed tax settings required to calculate each employee in the payroll. Again, many settings have been applied automatically for Bill, including his federal claim amount and his provincial TD1 amount. Now that we've been through the first 5 options of the Employee menu, it's time to make a distinction about these 5 commands, starting with Setup Employee and down through Tax Parameters. Though each of these 5 menu options will open a different screen with many unique data cells for each screen, each of the 5 options actually share from the same pool of 60+ data points that can be assigned to each employee. We've simply taken the 60+ points and distributed them logically under each of these 5 screens. We've done this to make it easier for you to quickly locate certain types of employee data. To demonstrate this, let's open the Setup Employee screen. As you can see, there are 10 columns starting with the surname and ending with template. These 10 columns are considered the default options that are required when you first begin setting up your employee in the payroll. Once the screen is complete, you continue working your way through the remaining commands in the Employee menu, including their address setup, their status in the payroll, how they are to be paid, their detailed tax information, and so on. However, all of the options found across these 5 menu commands can actually be modified right on the current screen because we are able to add columns, remove columns, or rearrange columns exactly as we need. To do this, we would use the Customize View feature. Let's demonstrate this briefly by choosing the Customize View button from the button bar that appears above the table. The right side of the window corresponds to the visible columns that we see on the current screen. For example, surname and given name, and the actual screen, surname and given name, and so on. And the left side of the window, entitled Available Columns, shows all of the columns that we can add to the visible side as needed. We can move these columns over one at a time by selecting them and dragging and dropping. Or we can select the column name and then use the orange right-facing arrow. We can even double-click a column name to move it from one side to another. To move multiple columns in one step, simply hold down the Control key on your keyboard as you select multiple columns. For our demo lesson, let's move the email column over to the visible column side. And take special note of the language and template columns because we'll take email and we'll move it just before those two. Now when we save our new customized view and close the window, the email column should now appear right before the language option, just like that. This is now considered a custom view, and if you look at the Select View button, you'll notice the label is changed from default to read View 1. And if we select the button, we can see the original default view is still available for us to choose. To summarize what we've just seen regarding the first 5 options in the Employee menu, let's display a graphic that we created for the lesson. The top section of this graphic shows the 60+ data points that can be applied to each employee in the payroll. Here are the 5 menu commands in the menu, and here is a breakdown of the various items included in each screen, based on their type and usage. You can pause this video for a moment if you want to review the image, or you can capture the screen if you wish. You can also view the online help at any time to view a text-based breakdown of the various options shown here. Looking at the list of options, notice how the tax parameter screen contains the largest number of options of the 5 screens. If we close the graphic and return to the program's tax parameter screen, We can see how the various options appear in the default view for the screen. And as mentioned earlier, we can show, hide, or rearrange any of these columns at any time as needed using the Customize View button. To view a more detailed video lesson on customized views, please visit our YouTube channel and choose the Working with Customized Views video tutorial. Now let's move on to the Employee Bank Account screen. As mentioned earlier, if we want to pay Bill Testman via EFT, he will need to have his banking information set up first. We could have set this banking information up on the Pay Parameters screen shown earlier, but we can also enter this information explicitly on the bank account screen shown here. To begin, we'll use the expand icon to reveal the sub-rows. The sub-rows are useful if Bill wishes to have his money deposited directly into more than one bank. The program allows us to transfer funds electronically into up to 3 employee bank accounts: primary, secondary, and other. In our demo lesson, we will only use one bank for Bill's EFT. So let's double-click on the sub-row to edit the data, and then we'll move to the Enable cell and place a check in the box. Next, we'll enter the name of his bank. And for our demo lesson, we will assign a simulated bank account number. Then we can choose the Save icon. And that completes the bank account screen for Bill. Continuing on through the Employee menu, we can skip over the earning items and deductions and benefits because we discussed those earlier in the lesson. The next item is entitled Accumulators. Accumulators are the records that are used to collect or accrue amounts that will be used in various payroll calculations. As you can see, the employee template for Bill has already included one accumulator. It's entitled Vacation Pay. Continuing on through the Employee menu, we see several remaining options. However, none will be applicable for our demo lesson. For example, the 3 YTD options will accrue year-to-date values over the year and represent the total of all monies or hours that were paid to or accrued by each of the various items for the year. Although most payroll situations will typically use these values as the final amounts for year-end purposes, you may encounter a situation where you need to adjust the year-to-date amounts manually. The most common example for year-to-date adjustments is when you're starting a new company and need to enter any current payroll amounts for your employees. That is, if any paychecks have been issued for the year-to-date amounts will need to be recorded here prior to starting the payroll in the eNETEmployer program. The final option, entitled Import Employees, will also not be used in this demo. And that completes the new employee process for Bill Testman using the employee template method. To complete this new employee demo lesson, let's talk briefly about adding an employee using the manual data entry method. To begin, let's choose the Employee Setup Employee command once again. Adding an employee manually is quite similar to the template method we discussed earlier, except for one main difference. When you go to add the employee to the payroll, you do not choose a template, but rather you select the New button on its own. Once the row appears, you can begin entering the data like you did before. Notice how each of the cells are blank because we did not use a template. There are no predefined items entered for you at all. You would then proceed through each of the options under the Employee menu as previous, defining your various earnings, deductions, benefits, accumulators, and so on. And that concludes the lesson on how to enter an employee in eNETEmployer. We hope you found the lesson useful and ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more how-to videos. Thanks for watching.